this cutie, the end is near and I'm very excited. Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Mathilde. I'm a French knitter, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. In today's video, we are going to talk about my finished objects, one of which I'm wearing, another one that you've never seen before, and then I've got quite a few whips to show, as well as some acquisitions, because I went to the Knit It Yarn Festival in Lyon this year, and so I bought a few things that I want to share with you. Now, today is another autumnal gloomy day, which I love, and it's actually funny because I feel like every time I'm filming a podcast these days, it's one of those gloomy days. But in reality, last week was really sunny, really not warm, but like when you went out in the sun, it was quite warm. But for some reason, that's just not my filming days. But anyways, let's talk about what I'm wearing. So today I'm wearing my Porcelain Sweater, which is my first finished object of this podcast. I've uploaded a complete project vlog on this last week, so if you haven't caught up on that, I will link it somewhere up above so that you can watch it and get the full context of this. And because I've done that project vlog, I'm not going to go too much in detail about it, and to be completely honest, I don't actually remember where I ended up last time. I think I was on the second sleeve in the last podcast, or like I was really close to finishing it. So it's completely finished, it's blocked, it's really nice. I'll pop up a few pictures of b-rolls of me wearing it so that you can see, and we'll just briefly go over the project cost for this project, and then we can move on to the next finished object. So this is the Porcelain Sweater by LeKnit. I knitted it in Tynn by Sandnes Garn in the colorway white for the white, held with soft silk mohair by Knitting Olive in the colorway cream, and the contrast color is hand-dyed yarn by Olivia and Olivia fibers called Organic Merino in the colorway Foliage, held with soft silk mohair by Knitting Olive in the colorway Dusty Olive, which I think is just stunning. I love this yarn combination. I'm really happy with it. I wasn't too sure about it, but I ended up really loving it. I think the Tynn Gynt was a little bit like I wasn't sure about it pre-blocking, but post-blocking it feels really nice. I think it bloomed really well. It definitely expanded a bit in blocking, like it helped me gain quite a few centimeters, so that's really good to know for me. And I've got quite a bit left over because I had originally bought the Tynn Gynt to make the No Frills cardigan by Petit Knit, which I might make one day. I'm not 100% sure, but I just wanted to use that, you know, full quantity for another project. And because it was for like a long cardigan, I had about 10 skeins, I want to say, and I used about 5 skeins, maybe 4. I'm not entirely sure because I frogged quite a bit of this project at the beginning, which I talk about in details in previous podcasts and in my project vlog, so I'm not going to go into it now. But anyway, it means that I've got quite noodly yarn that I can't weigh because it's still tangled up with the mohair. Because of that, I'm not like 100% sure how much I used for this project, but I've got leftover, and I think I will use that Tynn Gynt for another project, which I'm excited about, but that will be next year, so we'll talk about that in next year's plans video. Which will not be coming soon. And I do actually have also quite a bit left over of the mohair. Now I think I had bought one more skein than I should have, because I did have some skein left over from another project, because I used soft silk mohair in the colorway cream quite a bit, or any yarn base in the colorway cream by Knitting Olive quite a bit, because I love that color. And so I've got 2 full skeins left, which I'm using for another project, which is a whip, so we'll talk about that as well. But let's talk about the specs of this project. So I cast this on I cast this on again, so that's what I'm counting, on the 13th of August of this year, and I finished this on the 3rd of October, and so that means it was on my needles for a total number of 51 days. I mean, this color work was really was gonna say motivating, that's not the word, but like, I can't find the word, but I was really eager to get working on this and obviously to have the finished project as well. So I knitted this in the size medium and I got exactly the correct amount of positives intended. So it is 114 centimeter bust circumference, which is the final measurements for this project. So I've got 24 centimeters of positives. And the sleeves did end up a little bit tighter, especially for the color work. I think I should have maybe gone up in needle size for the color work on the sleeves. I did use 4mm for the main white part, but then I used 4.5 for the color work, and I did that for the sleeve as well. But I think I should have gone up to 5mm for the sleeves. I'm not too mad that I didn't do that because I wasn't sure what it would end up looking like how big of a difference it would mean in terms of openness of the stitches. But I think when I hold my arm out like that, you can definitely see that this is way looser than around the color work. But when I hold, like when I am actually sitting in normal way, you really don't see it, so I don't think it's too much of a bother. But yeah, as I said, I can't really give you a proper breakdown of the yarn cost because of that half skein that wasn't used up, and because also for the contrast color for the soft silk mohair I had used at least one skein that was left in stash from the project. So I've got an estimate cost breakdown to give you, and to be completely honest, I'm not sure I remember what I said in the project vlog, so this might be a little bit different, but it's just an estimate, so I think you guys will forgive me. But I think the yarn cost for this was about 99 euros. The hand-dyed skein was 24 euros, and I'm counting it as a full price, even though I've got quite a bit left over, not a ton, but like I've got maybe 20 grams left over. I'll have to check actually, because I would like to use it for another project, maybe in a blanket. I think that would be so cute to use as like in this project and in the blankets. But anyways, I think the pattern cost was 6.98 euros, so that would bring the total amount to, I think I said around 106 euros. So yeah, that's about it for the project cost for this. If you've got any questions, you can leave them down below, but hopefully everything will be, you know, corrected on the screen, or the information about the yarn and everything will be down below. And I think that's about it. So let's talk about the second finished object of this podcast. Now, I will count it as a finished object, but I haven't blocked it technically. I'll put a picture if it looks different post blocking, but I don't think there will be much difference. But I knitted this cutie, which is the Maxine hot water bottle cover by Penrose. This is the mini edition, and I only used 3 colors. So you've got options in the pattern to use 3 or 6 colors, and I used 3. Now I know that it's quite a low contrast color work, so hopefully you can see the colors well enough. For the yarns that I used, so for the main color I used a skein left over from another project, which was Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn in the colorway 1012, which I think is like whipped cream or something. And this Double Sunday is 100% non-superwash merino wool, and it's quite a soft merino wool. I've used it for my Marseille sweater back a while ago, and it peels quite a lot, but it's really soft. It's really lovely. I think I would like to use it again for a sweater. But I had a full skein left over, and I used, I won't say, I mean, I'll have to check and I'll put it on the screen how much I've got left of each yarn. Then I also used for the red, I used Tvinni by Isager, and that is in which colorway? I think it's just called red, but everything will be on the screen. And both this and the brown were left over from my normal sweater, and the brown is the Isager Tweed, also by Isager, in the colorway chocolate, and it's got a little bit of flex, so you can see that it is quite low contrast. But I actually really love how it turned out. I think it looks I don't know, I think it looks really, really fun. Hopefully you can see the difference in the brown and the red. And this was a really lovely knit. It's quite a quick one. We'll talk about the number of days it took me later. The one thing I'm not 100% happy with, and I think that's on me, I obviously did not gauge swatch for this, but I used 0.5 millimeter needle bigger than intended, so I think this is supposed to be knit on 4, and I used 4.5 millimeter needles. And I think my row gauge was a bit tighter, and maybe in blocking this will be fixed. Again, I'll put it on the screen if it is. If I don't put anything on the screen, it's that blocking did not fix this. But because of that, the top of my water bottle cover is a little bit, you know, it pulls quite a bit because it's a little bit shorter than it should be. So you can see maybe that this ribbing starts up a bit, or at least I don't know if it's supposed to be like that, but for me it starts around this part of the water bottle cover instead of more like around the bottleneck. I think that's what it's called, which means it's pulled a bit. And also I think when I did the decreases around the top, I didn't, because I was doing magic loop, I didn't pull on the stitches enough, and so you can see that it's really loose around this bit. I think that's on me, definitely not on the design itself, but I thought I would mention it. And then for the like ribbing at the top, I did 2x2 ribbing, and you've got options in the pattern to do either 1x1 or 2x2. So yeah, I haven't blocked this yet, but I think the colorwork looks pretty neat. I think the one part where I'm not like the 100% happy with is like, and again, like the double Sunday is DK weight, but the other yarns are fingering weight yarns, and so I held them double. And so I think because of the difference between, let me try to show you that. Even when held double, I think maybe also that did not help with some parts of the colorwork. So maybe you can see it here and here as well. It's a little bit more tricky to show the stitches. But I mean, it's a gift knit, so I'm really happy that I've done it. I think it looks really cute. I really want to make a Maxine hot water bottle cover, the regular size for myself, with like a mini skein kit that I've got to use. And because I really enjoyed this process, I'm really excited to work on my own version. But let's quickly go through the project cost for this. So I cast this on the 10th of October and finished it on the 15th. So it took me about 5 days to knit. Again, like I was pretty diligent about knitting on this, but I was also knitting on a couple of other things at the same time. So could be done in a weekend, I think, especially the mini version, maybe a little bit more for the regular size. So the pattern cost for this is €6.49, and then if I count each skein as full-size skeins, even though I use them also for other projects, it cost me, the total cost of this project was €25.77. Now again, as I said, I'm not actually going to count these yarns because they were left over from other projects, so I think I'm just counting the price of the pattern, which is €6.49. So hopefully that makes sense. So I think that's it for the mini hot water bottle cover. It looks really cute. We'll definitely make other ones in the future, but let's move on to whips now. Now, maybe before I talk about my knitting whips, I'll talk to you about another craft whip. So if you want to skip that, you can, use the chapters down below, but I will talk to you about my Polene bag, which was a gift from Babylon Leather. Okay, so I will say that the amount of progress I've got on this may seem small, but it actually takes a lot of time to do this, but it's really soothing to do. I really like it because it's something different from knitting. Now don't get me wrong, I love knitting, but sometimes obviously I need my wrist to settle, like to have a break, and doing this really helps me to, still do something craftsy, but also not hurt my wrist too much. So I don't have a ton of progress, but I've managed to stitch the pocket on here, and I've I'm in the middle of doing something, but I also added the buckles here, and I'm in the middle of stitching this handle at the top. I'm really happy how this is going, and I'm excited to show you more progress on this, but I don't have a ton more to show you right now. If you're interested in making this bag yourself or another one by Babylon Leather, you can use the link in the description to get 10% off and support my channel at the same time. But let's move on to knitting with. The first one, obviously, that we'll talk about is one that's been on the channel quite a few times, and that is my Agnete Cardigan by Knit, which I am knitting in Knitting for Olive, Soft Silk Mohair and Merino in the colorway Red Garnet. And guys, I've got quite a bit of progress to show you. I know, kind of mad. Look, I've got a full sleeve finished. Woohoo! I think I had also already finished the body, but maybe not. So I've also finished the body, which is also really exciting. So you can see I've finished the button band on each side, and then I went back and, you know, did the Italian bind off on the whole body, which took 4 hours or 5 even. So that took a while. I've got ends to weave in still, hope you don't mind. And I've also started the second sleeve. If you've been here before, you may know that I had done quite a sad mistake at the very beginning of this project, which was that I had a purl row in the middle of my double knitting, and I had realized it, I think, once I had finished the back panel and started one of the shoulders, and it really showed like the difference here. I'll put a picture, hopefully, if I've got one. And I managed to fix it with the help of my friend Ali from Supercraft on Instagram, because I was really terrified to do it on my own, so she kind of like coached me through it, so that was really nice. And the method that I used was basically I secured my stitches with a spare needle, and then I cut the basically cast on stitch so that I could pull the yarn through, and basically undid that purl row, and then I used a kitchen stitch method to stitch it all together again. And it's not the neatest, but I've also not blocked it yet, so I'm hoping it kind of settles more when I block it. But I think it's 1,000 times better than having that purl row in the middle of my button band. If you don't know, when you knit brioche in the round and when you knit it flat, it's a little bit different. So a lot of people actually knit the sleeves of the Agnete cardigan flat because you only ever have knit rounds and you don't have to purl. Whereas when you knit it in a round, you have one row where you knit and one row where you purl. I'm not at all fussed about purling, and so I'm knitting this in the round, don't really care about having to purl. And I actually really enjoy having that difference in the rounds each time, because it makes it less monotonous, is that a word? Like, makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more motivating to keep working on this. Whereas I feel like on the body it was really dragging, and on this I was like, oh yeah, I'm reaching a purl round, okay, I'm reaching a knit round. Almost like stripes, even though it was just basically knitting and purling, but in a brioche, so a little bit different. So yeah, it looks a little bit tiny, but hopefully it's not too tiny, and I'm hoping that it kind of stretches in blocking, because this is brioche, it's kind of like rib. It should hopefully loosen up a bit, because I really love the look of the sleeves in Petit Knit's sample picture, so hopefully that's how mine will turn out. And I've made a slight mistake, which I'm really sad about, and it's in the front of the sleeve, like around where the front panel is, so it's quite visible, unfortunately. But I was in the car, I was in another country, I didn't have internet, so I couldn't check a video to see how to fix it, and I even undid a couple of rounds to try to fix it, because my mistake was like a couple of rows down from where I was, and I reached that stitch and fixed it, and or like thought I fixed it and continued knitting, and then I realized I actually hadn't fixed it. Maybe I should have gone down to even the previous row than the mistake was on. But basically I dropped a stitch and it's in the brioche, so you can really see how it's looking. You know what? It's a handmade knit, so it's a little bit sad, but it happens. It's fine. I'm gonna try not to make the same mistake on the second sleeve, but yeah. So guys, this is almost finished. I really hope I can get it finished by next podcast, or at least the knitting part of it, because I'll still have to do the button, or like add the button and block it. So we'll see where I'm at in the next podcast, but like the end is near and I'm very excited. It feels like, because this has been on my needle since February, I'm almost like, am I ever going to finish this? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like, it almost doesn't feel real. But anyways, I've ordered some buttons, but I'll share them with you when I got them, so because I don't have them yet. So yeah, I think that's it for the Agnete cardigan, so let's move on to the second whip. I have progress to share with you on the Esther Sweater by Knit also, which I am knitting in a beautiful hand-dyed yarn, again by Olivia and Olivia Fibers. I love that hand dyer. And this is Organic DK, which is 100% non-superwash fine merino, and Surrey silk, which is 74% Burberry Surrey alpaca and 26% Mulberry silk, both in the colorway chestnut. And I love them. They're so soft, it's incredible. And this is the progress. I've joined in the round. I'm so excited. I've got quite a bit of ends to weave in, so I hope you don't mind. But since last time I finished the back panel, I've obviously knitted each shoulders separately and joined them under the neckline. And once I had reached a certain amount of centimeters, I joined everything in the round. So I don't have that much, like I've got maybe 1 centimeter under the sleeves, but I will try it on and show you. I think the neckline looks quite big, but hopefully once I pick up the stitches it'll be fine. For this project I am not doing helical knitting, I'm just using each skein as I go. I don't really want to bother with helical knitting. I know it's important, but I think because I'm using, you know, they're both from the same exact dye lot, I don't see a lot of difference in the skeins themselves. And because I am holding a silk mohair with the hand-dyed yarn, even though this is hand-dyed as well, I think this kind of helps keep it together. And right now I've used 1 full skein of the Organic DK, but I'm still using the first skein of the Surrey silk, and so I think that also helps it blend, you know. And I can't see any big difference in colors, so if you can, I don't think I can see it even on camera, so it should be fine. And you know what, if it happens, it's life. We'll see what I do on the next hand-dyed project, but for this one I want to try without, and we'll see if I regret it or not. This project is a drop shoulder construction, so you start at the back panel and you shape the back panel with increases, with shoulder increases, which shape this kind of like sort of braid. It's not really a braid, like a knit stitch line. I have talked about this in the previous podcast, but I've put those 2 stitches that kind of form this line on hold, so that when I pick up for the shoulders, or for the sleeves, sorry, I can continue that line down the sleeves in a much easier way. But I'll talk about that once I start a sleeve. That means that I picked up 2 less stitches for each shoulders. So let's say, for example, it says to pick up 40 stitches, I picked up 38 because I had 2 stitches on hold. And you can see that it's a little bit difficult to make this really neat, so it's a little bit on the side on both shoulders, but I don't mind. I think it's fine, it's close enough. So, but if you're really neat about this, you'll have to be careful of how you pick up your stitches, because if you want to line it up correctly, I think you have to pick up your stitches a little bit different than usual, or at least maybe I'm doing it the wrong way, but yeah. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm gonna try to prioritize the Agnete this week again, but I would like to have, you know, progress on this in the next podcast, but we'll see. The last whip is something that I cast on last night, so not a lot of progress on it, but I am very excited about it. So it's gonna be a little bit tricky because I've got quite a bit of yarn management to do, but I've cast on my first pair of colorwork mittens and I'm so excited about them. I had won a giveaway earlier, I think it was earlier this year, ran by Bichebush, and I had won a kit to make one of their mitten patterns, which is the Mathilde mittens. I'm not making that pattern because I found one that I love more, but I am using those yarns, so I hope that's okay. I'm still using those yarns for a pair of mittens, but not one by Bichebush. So I got the Le Petit Lamb's wool in the colorway Burgundy Grey and Écru, I think. So those were technically free, but gifted as part of a giveaway, not because of this channel. And then I am using also Mohair with this because my gauge is tight, so I wanted to go up in needle size, but I didn't want it to be too see-through because it's mittens, so I want it to be quite warm. So hopefully the sizing will turn out okay. I might have to frog this and start over, we'll see. But for the silk mohairs, I'm using the leftover from my Porcelain Sweater, which is soft silk mohair by Knitting for Live in the color cream, as well as leftover from my Olivia blouse, which is a test knit that I did for Tox Knits last month, and this was therefore gifted as part of the sponsorship for the test knit, so I didn't buy this either. And this is Isager silk mohair in the colorway 36. You can probably tell that the Isager silk mohair is definitely a little bit different than the Le Petit Lamb's wool. It's a little bit more purple than this, but, and this is the pairing for the white, but I mean, you're not going to be able to see a lot, but I think they pair well together once they're knitted up. So I didn't tell you about the pattern, but I have cast on the Kitten Catch Mittens by Florence Miller. I fell in love with this pattern when I saw it. It's just the cutest thing ever. I love the little cat face. I love the fish on the thumb. I think it's super cute. And I really wanted to use white as the main color, which is the color of the cat, because my cat is called Merlin and he's a white cat, so I think it'll be super cute. And I love this combination of burgundy and cream, which you'll see again pretty soon in another project, just saying. But yeah, I don't have a lot to show you. I've just done the first Latvian braid, and then I've started the corrugated rib, I think that's what it's called, which I had started by doing 2 knit stitches and 2 other knit stitches in the contrast color before realizing that this was actually supposed to be ribbing. So I started over just that ribbing part, and so I don't have that much to show you because of that. We'll see about the sizing when I've got more to show, but it feels quite loose for now around my wrist, but also I think the 2x2 corrugated rib thing will make it a little bit tighter. I am using slightly bigger needles for this. The cuff is supposed to be knit on 2.25mm needles, and I'm using 2.5mm needles. And we'll see like how that goes with my gauge. But I didn't really want to gauge swatch, and even the designer herself says in the pattern, kind of don't bother to gauge swatch because the mittens are already so small that it just makes sense to cast them on, and then if you have to frog, you have to frog. So yeah, the one thing I'm slightly worried about is about color bleeding when I block it, because when I had started the Mathilde mittens back in, I want to say February, when I got these yarns and that pattern, they were too big also, and so I I was gonna frog them, but I kept them on the side for a couple of days, and when I actually got around to frogging the yarn, the white became a little bit tinted by the burgundy, which I don't know if you're gonna be able to tell, but for this like pearl rose, they're a little bit more pinkish than they should be. So hopefully it will be fine when I actually block the mitten. We'll see. I'm in an adventurous mood apparently, because I'm not bothering to, you know, make sure it works fine. So this is going to be quite a slow project because I want to focus on other things, and I really hesitated in casting this on or another project with new yarn that I'll show you, but I decided on the mittens because that's like the one thing I need the most in my wardrobe. I don't have mittens that are really warm, either hand knitted or store-bought, and so I really wanted some colorwork mittens. So let's move on to what I got at the Knit It Yarn Festival. So let's move on to acquisitions. And this little bag is the first thing that I got. It's the tote bag by Biche et Biche, which has the name like Knitting Studio on it, which I think is super cute. It's quite a small tote bag, but I really like that the base is quite flat, so you can hold, you know, your projects in it and you can still grab your yarn from it, if that makes sense, which is how I like to use my project bags. So, and maybe for this reason, let's talk about what I bought at the Biche et Biche stand, because I didn't just buy the tote bag, I also bought some yarn. So I got Le Petit Lambswool again, but this time in the colorway medium blue. And I didn't tell you what this yarn is, but it is 100% lambswool, and it is made in the UK. It is 248 meters per 50 grams, which is around 270 yards, and it's fingering weight yarn. And my goal is to pair this with this gorgeous yarn from Isager Silk Mohair in the colorway 44, which I got by mistake when I was making another test knit for Tux Knit, and they sent me the wrong color and they let me keep this. So I've got a sweater quantity of this silk mohair, and so I thought it would be nice to splurge on the yarn to hold with it, because I didn't purchase this. It means that I could get away with, you know, spending a little bit more money on the fingering weight yarn to hold with it, because this is a little bit expensive. I think this was 14 euros a skein. I got 6 skeins, I want to say, and so yeah, I want to pair this together for a project. And I already know which sweater, but I'm not going to tell you. I'll keep it to myself for a bit, but I'm very excited. I think they pair really well together. And I'm really glad I took this with me to the yarn festival, because I was initially going to buy a lighter blue than this one, and I think it was just a little bit too pale, and I think these pair better together. So it's a little bit more of like a denim blue, and yeah, I think that's going to be really nice. And I'm really excited to use this yarn for a sweater. Oh, I also got a free like small string bag from Biche et Biche when I was at the stand. So that was really nice. I haven't used it yet, but I will. Another yarn that I bought, and I'll put a picture, was a sock yarn by Les Petits Points Parisiens, which is a yarn brand I've bought from before but never a sock yarn. And this is a BFL sock yarn. It's the BFL sock twist, so it's 80% blue face Leicester, 20% nylon, and is 100 gram for 365 meters in the colorway Écorce or Bark. And I'll put a picture because I've already rounded up, but it's this gorgeous brown. I absolutely love it. It's almost like mahogany colorway, I think, for me at least. And I told you guys when I talked about this sock that I really wanted to make that I wasn't a fan of my yarn combination. And then I was about to cast them on because I really wanted that pair of socks, and I realized I actually don't have enough of the white yarn anyway that I wanted to hold as the main color. And so I've decided to make the quilty cabin socks, which have been on my to knit list for quite a bit, in this yarn held with this for the contrast color. So this is Filcanana Veta in the colorway Row, I don't want to say, which is left over from another sock project, and I just don't have enough for the main color for that sock, held with another contrast color that I had in stash, and so I splurged and I got this gorgeous brown color, which was my like ideal colorway for this socks anyway, so I'm like super happy with it, super excited. I wound this up because I really wanted to cast them on, but because I've got those mittens, which are like, I don't have mittens but I do have socks, so I don't really need those socks, so I'm gonna do the mittens first, and once they're done I'll cast on these socks because I'm really excited about them. And I'm really excited to try out Bluefest Leicester for socks because I've never used that. One other thing that I got at the yarn festival, I did get a few other bits, but I'm not going to share them with you because they're for a friend, but I got a yarn dyeing kit, which I'm so excited about. This is a kit called Kit d'automne or autumnal kit by Maison Septembre, so I can show you her. This is her logo, and she is the nicest person ever. I really enjoyed talking to her because she was at the stand obviously, and I already bought some yarn from her last year or last March. I think it was last March in another yarn festival in the north of France, and I got 2 skeins. I haven't used them yet, but I really want to use them for a summer project, so that will wait a little bit until next spring. But this is a kit to dye yarn because she dyes her yarn with natural things from around her garden or around where she lives, I don't know. And anyways, I really wanted to try that out. I've told you guys a little bit before about me wanting to try yarn dyeing, and so I got this kit to hopefully make this a little bit easier on myself for the first time. So in this little box I have got 3 skeins to dye. These are, I'm not actually sure what type of wool it is because it's not written. Yeah, it just doesn't really say which yarn it is, but I think it's just 100% merino wool probably, and it's obviously undyed so that you can dye it yourself. And I've got 3 types of colors that I can make with this kit. I'm not entirely sure yet if I'm going to do 3 different colors or if I'm going to do just 1 color so that I can use these in one project. Maybe either if I do like different colors I can use as a colorwork project, or yeah, I don't know. I think these are 50 grams. I'll have to check on the website if it says because I don't remember, but I'm so excited to do this. I've got other bits and bobs to do the yarn dyeing process, so like a pot and stuff that are coming so that I can get started hopefully next week. And I think I'll film a vlog for this, like not just for the yarn dyeing, I'll do a weekend in my life kind of thing. But if you're excited about this, hopefully this will be coming soon because I'm really excited about this. And I think that's it. It's been quite a few things. Hopefully I'll have some things to share with you next time. I feel like time is flying and I don't have that much time for knitting, but I mean I do have time for knitting, but definitely not as much as I would love to. I think there'll definitely be a new cast on in the near future for another gift knit, maybe even 2. And I didn't get it with me, but I have swatched for my Elizabeth Badaus with the Cardiff Cashmere Classic that I got in the last podcast, but I'll share that with you next time because it's already a bit too long of a podcast. Anyways, I really appreciate you watching this video. Let me know as always what you've been knitting on, what's your current mood, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!